just got a whole load worse for Meghan Markle because her sister Samantha ain't going anywhere.
I do believe because there are no delivery certificates.
What if the fairy tale wasn't real? What if Meghan Markle's story, the glowing duchess, the loving mother, the outsider who rewrote the rules of royalty, wasn't built on truth at all, but on illusion?
This scandal comes as no surprise. Speculation about the children has been simmering for years.
Because right now, the cracks in Meghan's carefully polished image are no longer whispers on the sidelines. They're exploding in the spotlight. Her own half-sister Samantha is tearing down the narrative Meghan spent years building, accusing her of rewriting history, erasing family ties, and crafting an identity that never really existed. And just when you thought the family feud was shocking enough, another woman stepped forward, armed with hospital bills, signed contracts, and chilling claims that she, not Meghan, carried the royal children.
I grew up as an only child, which everyone who grew up around me knows. I would have loved to have had siblings. That's why I'm so excited to be pregnant, so that Archie has someone.
This isn't gossip. This isn't just bad press. If even a fraction of these allegations hold weight, the scandal could do more than tarnish Meghan's reputation. It could shake the monarchy to its very core. 'Cause in royalty, legitimacy is everything. And one unanswered question lingers like a storm on the horizon. If the children's story isn't what the world was told, then what happens to the royal future Meghan and Harry fought so hard to control?
There's a very big difference. It was deliberate.
Samantha Markle wasn't supposed to matter. At least, that's how Meghan wanted the world to see it. From the moment Meghan stepped into royal life, she painted herself as an only child, a self-made woman who rose above the odds. She told the world she grew up alone, longing for the siblings she never had. It was a perfect narrative, sympathetic, relatable, and designed to set her apart as a modern duchess who carried herself on sheer grit.
This crisis won't die down until the irrefutable truth comes out.
But Samantha wasn't buying it. Meghan's half-sister wasn't content to sit quietly while her existence was erased like an inconvenient footnote. She came forward with fury, blasting holes in Meghan's story. To Samantha, Meghan's carefully rehearsed interviews weren't heartfelt confessions. They were calculated lies. She would still be a waitress if it wasn't for Dad, Samantha snapped, claiming their father Thomas Markle had paved the way for Meghan's success long before Harry ever entered the picture.
People think her kids are fake, they think they're AI.
And it didn't stop there. Samantha accused Meghan of deliberately cutting off her family, rewriting her own history to look like a heroic underdog instead of a woman with deep, complicated roots. Every speech about resilience, every staged photo of a glowing duchess, Samantha called it theater. A Hollywood script dressed up as authenticity.
Own children.
Like, why lie? It was just so truly bizarre.
Silence everybody and just produce a DNA sample.
What Samantha was really doing was flipping the narrative. Meghan wasn't the victim of a cruel press. She wasn't the silenced outsider. According to her sister, she was the architect of her own false empire, building walls of lies to protect a carefully engineered image. And for the first time, the public was forced to wonder, if Meghan could lie about her own family, what else could she be hiding?
If you had those things, it would be very easy just to put them out there and say, this is what happened. This is what it is.
But Samantha's attack was only the beginning. 'Cause just as the headlines started to fade, someone else stepped out of the shadows, someone with far more dangerous claims.
She said, I lost my father. We knew that she didn't lose our dad. She iced our father. Why? What she told the royal family, what she told Harry, wouldn't have jived, wouldn't have been consistent with.
If Samantha's words rattled Meghan's image, the next allegation threatened to blow it apart completely. Out of nowhere, whispers began circling that Meghan hadn't actually carried her royal children. First, it sounded like cruel internet gossip, too wild, too scandalous to take seriously. But then came the receipts.
So all of the pictures, my point is, out there were inconsistent with the idea of a real pregnancy.
A woman claiming to be the real surrogate stepped into the storm, holding what she described as undeniable proof: medical documents, hospital bills, and contracts allegedly signed by Meghan's representatives. Her claim was simple yet explosive. She had been paid to bring Archie and Lilibet into the world, while Meghan staged the pregnancies for the cameras. Suddenly, those strange moments people had brushed aside, like Meghan's moon bump allegedly slipping on camera or her oddly flexible baby belly during public appearances, were being replayed, dissected frame by frame. Was it just bad angles and poor fabric choices? Or had the world been duped into believing a royal fairy tale? The Sigets allegations didn't just spark gossip, they struck at the very heart of monarchy itself. Because in the royal world, bloodlines aren't just tradition, they're the crown's foundation. If Meghan truly used a surrogate and concealed it, then every detail of Archie and Lilibet's legitimacy, their place in the royal line, and even their royal titles came crashing into question. The stakes had never been higher. What began as a feud between sisters was quickly spiraling into a scandal that could alter the future of the monarchy itself. The moment the surrogacy rumor broke, people rushed back to the footage of Meghan's pregnancy tours, and what they found only fueled the fire. One clip in particular went viral. Meghan stepping into a car, her belly appearing to fold unnaturally as if it weren't real at all. Dubbed the moon bump moment, it became internet legend, replayed millions of times with slow-motion analysis and freeze-frame breakdowns. Critics pointed to other odd details. Meghan's baby bump seemed to grow and shrink dramatically from one appearance to the next. One day, her belly looked 9 months along. The very next, it looked half the size. Fashion experts tried to explain it away as fabric choices and camera angles. But for conspiracy theorists, it was proof of a staged performance. Then came the hand-on-belly obsession. Meghan was constantly photographed cradling her bump, so much so that it sparked backlash. Was it genuine maternal instinct, or was she deliberately drawing attention to the pregnancy she allegedly wasn't having? The questions piled up, and the palace offered no explanations. Silence only made the whispers louder. And behind that silence, one terrifying thought lingered. If the pregnancy was staged, who inside the royal machine had helped keep the illusion alive? Behind palace walls, the whispers weren't just headlines, they were a crisis. The royal family had weathered scandals before, but this was different. Allegations about Meghan's pregnancies struck at the monarchy's most sacred cornerstone, legitimacy. The children's origins were shrouded in secrecy, the line of succession itself could be thrown into doubt. According to insiders, senior royals were horrified. For the Queen, already carrying the weight of a centuries-old institution, the rumors weren't just embarrassing, they were dangerous. Every monarch is measured not only by duty, but by lineage. If Meghan had lied, it wouldn't just reflect on her. It would stain the House of Windsor itself. Prince William, insiders claimed, was particularly incensed. Protective of both the monarchy and his own children's future, William allegedly saw Meghan and Harry's actions as reckless. Some reports suggested he privately accused his brother of allowing the crown to be dragged into tabloid theater. Charles, meanwhile, was said to be torn, desperate to preserve the monarchy's image while keeping his youngest son from total disgrace. And yet, publicly, the palace said nothing. Their mantra remained, never complain, never explain. But in this case, silence wasn't strength, it was gasoline on the fire. Every unanswered rumor, every unexplained clip, only fueled speculation that the royals knew more than they dared admit. What had started as gossip was now a full-blown legitimacy crisis. And Meghan and Harry were left with no choice but to defend themselves on the world stage. When the whispers became a roar, Meghan and Harry knew silence was no longer an option. Their brand, the carefully crafted image of a modern, relatable yet glamorous couple, was under siege. And so they turned to their greatest weapon, the media. First came the Oprah interview. In it, Meghan leaned heavily into the narrative of a woman mistreated, silenced, and misunderstood. Every question about her pregnancies was deflected with emotional appeals. She spoke about mental health struggles, about isolation, and about the cruelty of the press. It was powerful. It was moving. And for many it worked. Sympathy poured in, framing Meghan as the victim of an unforgiving royal machine. But critics weren't satisfied. They pointed out that Meghan never directly addressed the surrogacy rumors. Instead, she danced around them, offering polished answers that left more questions than clarity. Harry, meanwhile, appeared torn, supportive of his wife, but visibly defensive when lineage and legitimacy were raised. Then came the PR blitz. Carefully staged paparazzi shots, glossy magazine spreads, and charitable appearances painted the Sussexes as hands-on parents and devoted partners. It was all designed to reinforce one message: their family was real, their love was genuine, and the world should move on. Yet, for every polished photo, another old clip resurfaced online, reigniting suspicion. Their defense wasn't silencing the rumors, it was feeding them. And the harder they tried to control the story, the more it slipped from their hands. If Meghan and Harry thought the press would back off, they underestimated the machine. The British tabloids smelled blood, and nothing sells like scandal. Every rumor, every grainy clip, every whispered allegation became headline gold. Fake bump? Royal surrogate? Archie's mystery birth? The stories were relentless, splashed across front pages with the kind of hysteria usually reserved for political crises. Television pundits debated the legitimacy of Meghan's pregnancies like it was a national emergency. Body language experts were rolled out on talk shows, dissecting her every gesture. Was that smile genuine? Was that hand placement rehearsed? Social media, of course, exploded into overdrive. Hashtags trended. Theories went viral. And for every voice defending Meghan, another shouted liar. What made it worse was the global reach. American outlets picked up the drama, framing it as a battle between Meghan and the cold, outdated monarchy. British media, meanwhile, dug deeper into conspiracy, feeding readers every scrap of speculation. The Sussexes had wanted to escape the UK press. Instead, they had created a spectacle too profitable to ignore. And as the media circus grew louder, the couple's image began to fracture, not just in Britain but worldwide. The scandal didn't just dominate headlines, it split public opinion straight down the middle. On one side were Meghan's staunch defenders, who saw the rumors as nothing more than a cruel smear campaign. To them, Meghan was a woman of color who dared to marry into one of the world's most powerful and most traditional institutions, only to be torn apart for it. They argued the surrogacy claims were rooted in racism and misogyny, designed to discredit her and strip her children of legitimacy. But on the other side, skeptics grew louder by the day. For them, the inconsistencies were impossible to ignore. The fluctuating baby bump sizes, the moon bump footage, the palace's eerie silence, all of it looked like evidence of a cover-up. Online forums buzzed with amateur investigators, dissecting timelines, photographs, and even medical speculation. What should have been a private matter of motherhood had spiraled into a national obsession. For ordinary citizens, the scandal became a mirror. It wasn't just about Meghan. It was about trust. Trust in the press, trust in the monarchy, and trust in the couple who had promised to be authentic, yet were constantly accused of stage managing their lives. Some saw betrayal. Others saw resilience. But one thing was clear, no one was neutral anymore. Meghan and Harry had become a lightning rod, a cultural fault line that left families, friends, and even nations arguing over the same question. Were they victims of a ruthless system or architects of their own downfall? At the heart of all the whispers, the headlines, and the finger-pointing were two innocent names: Archie and Lilibet. For most royal children, the birthright is simple. They are heirs, secure in their place within the line of succession. But for Meghan and Harry's children, every rumor cast a shadow. Were they born in secrecy? Were they delivered by another woman? And if so, what did that mean for their royal standing? The monarchy is built on bloodlines. For centuries, legitimacy has determined who wears the crown and who does not. Even the faintest suggestion that a royal heir's lineage is in question has historically led to chaos. That's why Meghan's alleged secrecy was viewed as so dangerous, not just for her reputation, but for the very stability of the monarchy itself. Queen, ever protective of the crown, was said to worry deeply about the children's future place in the institution. Some royal aides allegedly advised stripping Archie and Lilibet of titles altogether, to avoid entangling the monarchy in controversy. Others argued that punishing the children for their parents' decisions would only make the palace appear cruel and outdated. But the damage was already done. The children were no longer seen as symbols of continuity, they had become symbols of doubt. And whether Meghan intended it or not, Archie and Lilibet had been thrust into history not as heirs of hope, but as the eye of a storm that could redefine the royal legacy forever.